think we all have to admit that the devil's clever if you believe there is a Prince of Darkness and a whole world of darkness that works against us, in the way in which he normalizes through shows alcohol and nicotine use and all these other things. They normalize it through media and things like this, and people believe that it isn't going to hurt them or harm them in the long term, but that's part of a self-propagated deception, because the medical world, science and everything else has proven, and they write it on the packets of the cigarettes, that it leads to death, the loss of limbs, cancer, all forms of sicknesses and illnesses. It tells you on the packet. This is how desperate people are to hurt themselves. They just turn a blind eye to that. And I've seen relatives smoke themselves into sickness and stay there for the duration of their life, dependent on these chemicals which eat away at their insides and their mind, because without the chemicals the person's just not the same. They fall to pieces. So they're dependent on things that really are of no benefit to them. This is how we become desensitized to what's good and what's bad. And a lot of these people, it happens to them through trauma. They've been abused in their childhood, and this is the way in which they deal with the pain. And this is the way they'll stick with dealing with the pain, regardless. And today, with the cost of living, particularly in Australia, one of the most expensive, it has become more or less overnight one of the most expensive countries to live in the world. They might grow incrementally, put up the prices of everything. And you have a lot of children now living in the family home. It's just too hard for them to financially set themselves up individually. This causes certain dysfunctional dynamics if the boundaries aren't put in place appropriately around wisdom and things that matter in life. A lot of these people will share their values, share their family values that are dysfunctional, and it becomes generational. And eventually you have major breakdowns and catastrophic events, early deaths, estrangement within these families where people just go black sheep. I refuse not to live this way. They go black sheep. And get out. Then of course that brings all the victim mentalities with it. My family hates me, my mother never listened to me, my father treated us badly. That then gives rise to a victim fundamental list. Nobody listens to me, nobody wants to care about me. And this ripples through everything they do. They usually end up on their own because people get tired of trying to cater to the victim throne. If you're not going to bring gifts to the foot of my throne, if you're not going to pedestalize me, which is how the victim thinks, then I'm going to cause trouble until you do. And some people just don't hang around for that. They just leave. I'm sorry, but whatever's happening to you, you can do that on your own. And this happens all the time. For many of you, you are either in this state, and you possibly, or probably because of all the flying monkeys and people that have bought into it, may never ever find your way out. You'll waste years limited in this space, limiting your life in this space, unable to find a way out. Dependent on people that will rescue you. I know what it's like. I know how easy it is to get caught in this passive realm. You become passive. You just can't find your way out of the fog. And the fog's been there so long, it has you so confused and dazed that you just give up trying to find your way out of it. So you surrender to all the consequences and negative ways of life that it brings on you. And there's a passage in the Bible that says, if the oxen's trough is clean, then no work is being done, or something along those lines. And this is how we end up. Everything appears to be all polished and clean, but inside it's broken and ruined. I remember there used to be a post-mortem show. They'd do post-mortems on these dead people, doctor somebody, it was a woman, great show. I've shared this story before, but they couldn't work out why this auntie, this wonderful auntie, was all of a sudden found dead at, age 40 something. And nobody could work out why all of a sudden she was dead. How could auntie, die? This is imposterous. But when they did the autopsy, auntie was a cocaine addict. And I tell you, you would never have picked it. These people are right through our communities. Functioning alcoholics, functioning drug addicts, cocaine addicts. It does catch up with them as they get older, but this lady held her age pretty well. I've met women that have somehow or other just been able to hold their looks with all this abuse going on in their lives. It does catch up with them in the end, and very fast. It hits fast. Well, this lady died. Well, when the post-mortem results came out, the family was mortified. Absolutely mortified that this was possible. And people are doing things that we have no clue about. They're harming themselves in ways that we have no idea about. And then we say to ourselves, well, how much of an influence did that person have over me? Because their persona was not real. It was led by drugs, and we know how dangerous drugs are. They destroy everything they get their hands on. It may not be immediate, but eventually they do. And I tell you, people will fight for their drugs. They'll die for their drugs. They'll kill people for their drugs. They'll isolate and lose everything for their drugs. They'll go into hospital sick and come out early to get back to their drugs. You know what I'm talking about. It's a matrix that's predictable. We know how it works. We know what it does. We know where these people are going to end up. What happens to them. And they don't care. Why would they care? Oh no. They don't care. But there is a way out. Sometimes for many of you, you've already lost limbs and health that you'll never regain. Parts of your mind that you'll never get back. And you'll live with the torments of it for the rest of your days. But you can improve your life and give yourself back some dignity and self-respect. You can do that. If you're prepared to try and come back to yourself. Many people aren't. If you're prepared to do that, you can have your moments of inner reward, inner serenity, and give yourself a little bit of self-value back. Or you can just continue down the same old path of self-destruction where nobody really could be bothered with you. You've become angry, bitter, an aging narcissist, an aging cranky old sinner that has nothing good or positive to do for yourself or anybody else, only just feeding into the dysfunction matrix, which all looks good on the surface, but it really isn't. And you'll die without any dignity, embarrassed, humiliated, confused, knowing that you abused yourself all the way to the grave.